Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to use the die cut machine. If you're new here, hi, my name is Claire. I'm the owner and creator of Rice Note and I am a card maker, content creator here on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, you name it. Subscribe to see more, and at the end of this video, I'll be announcing who won the giveaway from last week and announcing the giveaway for this week. Alright, so let's get into it. This is the Big Shot by Sizzix. It is the 6-inch size, which is perfect for me because all I do is make cards. If you plan on making some bigger projects, you might want to opt for the 9-inch, but the 6-inch works perfectly for me. Your machine will come with the cutting plates, which you will layer to create the right sandwich for what you're cutting. Most die cutting machines will come with the recipe for the sandwich or the layering order of the plates for the type of die that you're cutting right here on the base plate. So it makes it super convenient for you if you need to refer back to it. 99% of the time when I'm using my die cutting machine, I'm using these wafer thin dies. They're called different things by different brands, but basically they're these really thin metal dies that have a little ridge, and this little ridge is what cuts the card out. With the pressure of the rollers in the die cutting machine, it basically pushes the die through the paper and cuts it out perfectly. I think it's technically called a blade, but it's not sharp at all, which is nice if you have kids that want to try out the machine. Also, when purchasing stamp sets, it's common that it comes with a coordinating die set. So if you see, these dies border these stamps so you can put them together and cut out the stamp perfectly. They usually come together stuck all together in one piece like this, so you kind of have to bend them out. And you can also use little clippers. These aren't necessarily die cutting clippers, but they help in cutting these little die wires, these die metal pieces off like that. But they come like a set like this, and you just have to manually pull them apart so you can use each die separately. I've mentioned this in my previous video, but when you're starting out, I recommend getting these layered dies or nesting dies. But basically it's the same exact shape, either small or big, and they're perfect for frames, they're perfect for making all different types of shapes, and you can make so many different cards using these shapes over and over and over. So these are really great if you're starting out in card making. So when cutting these wafer thin dies, I use all the plates that the machine comes with. I have the base plate, I have this plate which adds another layer. I have these two plastic plates that are see-through, and these are the plates that get super marked up. This is my second set of these plates, and these markings don't really affect the cut as far as I'm concerned. They've never affected my cut. They just get really worn out as time goes on, but it's perfectly normal to have these cutting marks on your cutting pads. So I'm gonna put this one down here, and you layer it with your piece of cardstock with the print side up. So this is marked on both sides, but the design is kind of different on either side. So I like this side better, so I'm gonna put it face up. I'm gonna put the die as another layer right where I want it to be cut out. So I'm gonna put it right about there. And then layer the last plate on top. So this is the layer. It has the base, this second base here, the first cutting pad, the paper, the die, then the last cutting pad on top. So I'm gonna stack these and put it through the machine. It is a manual machine, so you have to crank it through. Make sure your Sizzix is on a flat surface. And there we go, a perfectly cut heart. Now I'm gonna cut out something a little bit bigger. This is still the same thickness as a wafer thin die. It has the ridges on this side, but this one's a little bit bigger. It's gonna use a little bit more force to put through the machine. So the layering is the same because it's the same thickness. I'm gonna use a piece of cardstock here, layer the die, and I'm actually gonna put it in at an angle. I learned this trick from one of my commenters that when you put it in parallel, it can ruin the rollers inside. So I'm gonna put it in at a slight angle. Put the top layer on. And the die cutting machine goes both ways, so I'm gonna crank it in this way this time. And this time it's a little bit tougher to get through, but with a little pressure, it still goes through just fine. If it's extremely hard to get through and you feel like you're forcing the machine, then you probably have your layers incorrect, so don't force it because you will break your machine. If you hear cracking sounds when you put it through the machine, that's completely normal. Okay, so this is how it came out. It has cut everything, but the paper is stuck in there, so the bigger pieces I can just get out with my fingers. And then I can peel out the paper so it comes out like this. And if you notice, some of the pieces of paper has not come out yet, so I like to use my fingers, or if it's really small, I use a tool like this. I think this is technically for nail art, but it does the job just fine. And I poke it through to get the little pieces out. And it should come out pretty easily, and it's actually very satisfying to do this. Just like that. Poke it through, and the paper should come right out. There we go, everything is poked out and it looks pretty cool. I usually poke everything out over the trash because they're too small pieces to keep. I usually keep a paper bag nearby where I put all my scrap pieces of paper. Pieces that are too small to reuse for other projects, or they're gluey or inked up or something that I know I won't use. And I just keep all the little scrap pieces of paper in here, and it's just convenient to have this nearby to collect all your scrap pieces of paper and try not to make your craft station messier than it already is. Another purpose of your die cutting machine is for embossing. These are embossing folders that if you put a piece of paper inside, it will squish it and emboss the print onto your paper. It creates texture and it creates a really cool look for your cards. So these folders are much thicker than your normal thin die, so the layering is going to be a little bit different. So again, the great thing about the Sizzix platform is that this base piece will tell you exactly how the sandwich should be, but it does kind of depend on where you get your embossing folders. Some embossing folders are thicker than others or thinner than others, so it does kind of depend on the thickness of this. So you might need to switch up your layering depending on the thickness of your embossing folder. But for this embossing folder, all you do is open it up, put in your piece of cardstock, close it, and then according to this standard platform, it says that it needs this base. You don't use this piece, the second piece. You use the first cutting pad, and then you put your embossing folder on there. I like to put the embossing folder with the folded crease in first. And this embossing folder, it doesn't matter whether it's face down or face up. And lastly, the top cutting pad. And then crank it through. It is a little bit tougher, but it still gets through. Again, if you're finding that it's really tough to get through, don't do it because most likely it's not the right layering pattern. There we go. Open up your embossing folder and there you go. You have your perfectly embossed heart design. I don't know if it's showing through, but it is textured, it is raised with hearts, and it looks so fun and gives you an extra oomph to your card. You can do endless things with your die cutting machine. This one I cut out a bunch of flowers and put it into the shape of an egg using the die cutting machine. You can do letters. Every single layer here was punched out using a die cutting machine. This is the same background that we used today. Again, a lot of stamps come with a coordinating die, so this was a stamp that I colored in and punched out using the die cutting machine. Every single little bird was punched out using a coordinating die and layered into a card. Even this border right here was using one of those layering dies I was talking about earlier that are good for beginners. So now to announce my giveaway from last week, I'll be giving away this Year 1 in a Melon card to Diana Chan 742. Thank you for commenting and thank you for being a subscriber. And in this video, I'll be giving away this Sending Hedgehogs card. It is a shaker card with little carrots and sequins in there. So cute. says, with lots of love, with the rice note stamp on the back. I love this card. I love the cloud background. It is so cute, and I'm so happy to be giving away to one of you guys. To enter the giveaway, all you have to do is subscribe, comment down below what you want to see next, make sure you're following me on Instagram and TikTok, and you will be entered into this giveaway that I'll be announcing next week. Happy crafting, everyone!